Welcome. Let me see, who do we have on the call? Be great if you introduce yourself in the chat section. I'll introduce Lisa and Attie to you in a second. Let us know where you're from. Lynn, she's from Winkelspruit in KZN. And Dominique says that she is with Little Palace Nursery School. Oh, welcome. And Portia Macau, good afternoon. Welcome. Let us know where you're from, what your center name is, where you're dialing in from. And today you'll also be able to use the chat section to let us know if you have any questions or comments for your center specifically, questions you have about learner assessments. Let's just see who's on the call. All right, we have Vanessa. She's from Edenvale, Gauteng. Welcome, Vanessa. And Shanawaz is from Little Lighthouse Educare Centers in Cape Town. Marsha says that she's from Gen Z Cyber Academy. That sounds incredible. I love that name. And hello, Hada. She's from, is it Parfait Educare Center in Elsburg. Wow, okay, wow. That's, and Mapulo is from Kutsong Daycare Center. Lovely. Janine, she's from, is it Gillies Tiny Tots in Ruiterbach, Cape Town. And Ruth, also from Cape Town. Lots of Cape Town people. Are there other people here from the rest of the country? Let's see. Bridget says she's from Brooklyn Special Friends Foundation. Hello. And Helen is from Murraysburg. Renelle from Durban, Morningstar. Welcome. And Clarissa is from Step Up Rheinfeld Private Academy in Benoni. So lovely to see your messages in the chat. Thank you for introducing yourself. It feels like I'm talking to a computer here, so I need to hear who's there, who's out there, and throughout this meeting, feel free to use the chat section. So let us know if you have any questions or comments, or how it's happening at your center, what your experience is like. We would love to know. I'll introduce Lisa and Attie to you also in a second. So many messages, too many almost to read. Megan Hector is from Cannons Creek Independent School in Cape Town. Welcome. And Maureen is from the Vredendal in Weskus. Louise and Monique is from Melkbosstrand Sugar and Spice Early Learning Center. Best name ever. I love that. Yvonne is from Limpopo. Welcome, Yvonne. And Hester is all the way from Senekal in the Free State. Lovely to have you on the call. Soweto is being represented here. Atlantis. Hello, Heather. We have people from Mogwasi and the Moses Kutana local municipality in Northwest Province. Welcome. And Ingrid from Rustenburg. 100 messages. I'm not going to be able to read all of them. New Hope Kingdom in Soweto. Wow. Middelburg, Mpumalanga, Garsfontein, Pretoria. Thank you for joining us, everybody from across the country. It's lovely to have you here, and I realize that your day is busy. Probably your center is demanding. There are people who need you right now, and they would prefer you to talk to them. But you've taken some time out today to invest some time specifically to discuss learner assessments. And we're going to make sure that this hour, maximum of 1 hour, is going to be very productive, and that you are left with practical advice, practical tips, and real examples of what you can do at your center, as well as some tools to support you. So note that this meeting is being recorded. If you drop off at any point because of load shedding, don't worry, we will have the recording available. I will also make sure that all of the slides reach everybody via email by tomorrow, 5 p.m. Okay, so you have that commitment. Use the chat section if you have any questions, and we'll look at the chat and try to answer as many questions as we can. In the meanwhile, let's start. Yeah. So welcome again. My name is Helene Brandt. I'm the marketing manager for Grow Educare Centers. And on the call with me today, I have two amazing guests. Let me tell you what we're going to be covering in the next few minutes. So today we'll be exploring the use of milestones in the assessment process and how it fits in. We'll discuss how you can recognize and accurately define the milestones for children per their development, as per their development per age group. the purpose of doing learner assessment, and I'll be honest with you, I learned a few things in this section, and we'll give you an in-depth understanding of the assessment process, how to put it into practice, and then how exactly Grow's free assessment tools and training can help you have a fantastic assessment period this year, with less gray hairs, hopefully, by the end of the assessment period, and happy teachers, happy parents, and happy learners, most importantly. So, so joining me on the call today is Lisa Voortman. Lisa is our co-founder at Grow Educare Centers and our head of education. She ran a preschool for many years and has done additional training specifically in special needs learners, and has really helped to develop the Grow curriculum, the processes, and the training, and this tool. We also have as our other guest. Hi, Lisa. Our other guest today is Ati, and Ati is the principal of Hope Preschool in Cape Town. Ati, how many years have you been running your preschool?
This year, it's the 6th year.
Just sit a little bit closer to your computer. I can't hear you.
Okay. Oh.
Thank you.
Better?
Yes.
Okay.
So you say you've been running your preschool for 6 years now?
6 years, yes.
Okay. And so Ati has a lot of experience in learner assessment. She's probably also paid her school fees since when she started up to now. And we'll hear from her about how practically what she's learned, what she's done, and how she's implementing learner assessment at her school. So Lisa, why don't you start us off? I think a good place to start really is to zoom out and reflect on the National Curriculum Framework and what that expects from us.
Okay, great. Thanks, and thanks for the warm welcome. So the basis of the learner assessment, it begins with the National Curriculum Framework. So in other words, this assessment tool is not based on any one organization's curriculum, learning program, or anything. It is a generic learner assessment that has been developed in accordance with the National Curriculum Framework. So that's really important as a starting point. And the National Curriculum Framework outlines assessment, the whole assessment process over 6 steps. And the first is obviously preparing for the assessment, then identifying through observation. Now, remember, observation is so important because that continues throughout the year. It's not a one-off thing. The second is, the third part is recording information. So it's actually recording your observations and seeing what it is that the children are able to do. Then interpreting the information. So it's sitting and looking at where are the deficits, where are the strengths, what are the children able to do? In other words, finding out what is the status in your classroom. You then take it into the next level, which is reporting and discussing. So that's when you would report to your principal of your school, as well as to your parents, and discuss the little learners' process and progress so that they are aware of what's happening. And then the next part, which is so important, which is planning for the next activities. So in other words, we don't just assess and then keep going. We adapt and we make sure that our teaching and our activities that we plan are perfect for the learners. So in the National Curriculum Framework, the emphasis is for ongoing observation, and that's really important. It's looking at their daily routines. It's looking at how they do structured play, free play activities. Observation really means watching carefully and listening carefully to each child. So it's really important to remember that children develop at their own pace. So it's impossible to tell exactly when a child will learn a particular skill. So the developmental milestones, which we will look at next, gives us a general guide as to what a child should do at each age group. So the assessment must cover all 6 elders, which are the early learning development areas. They must cover the children's well-being. They must look at how their child's identity and belonging is developing. Look at their communication skills, how they explore mathematics, and if their pre-math skills are actually coming along. It must look at creativity and knowledge and understanding of the world. So all of these things should be taken into account when planning a learner assessment.
So how do these then connect, I guess, to the milestones? A lot of people talk about milestones, and you mentioned some people get a little bit obsessed about that. So let's look a little bit at milestones.
Okay. So a child's development is obviously more than just physical growth. So the main thing is, as a teacher over so many years, I find that what's really helpful when thinking about developmental milestones is to keep the following in mind. It's how do the children play, learn, act, and move? So as I watch them, I think about if anything or anyone stands out as perhaps needing extra help or extra guidance. I then take the milestone guide and compare the child's behavior to that of an expected behavior of a child in that age and stage. So that's pretty much how I use the developmental milestones. So we use these as a way to really just look at how the child is developing at their own pace. Milestones have been developed and they are actually uniform. They belong across the world. Children of a given age or stage across the world, they usually develop the same milestones at the same time. And so these,
So I really like that. And it was, when you say milestones, it reminds me of that idea of progress. So it's not about a test at one point to say, can you do this, not do this, then you fail. It really is about the development. And then for those on the call, what Lisa has done is she's put together some things to look out for in terms of those universal milestones for each age group. We're not going to go through that today, but I'm happy to share all of those slides with you when I email tomorrow. But Lisa, so goes through the examples of milestones.
Okay, so a typical 4 to 5-year-old should be able to copy shapes and letters. So what we say is that's the average, what a child at this age is starting to do. They're starting to draw a circle. And if you show them a square, they're starting to be able to copy more or less what that shape looks like. They also are able to color in one direction. So they're no longer circle scribbling only. They also start to up and down draw. It's a new development for this age group. They should be able to dress themselves, but would need help with things like buttons, zips, shoelaces. They should be able to recall a story. So if you tell them a story, they should be able to tell you some of what you told them in that story. Something like tapping a rhythm. So if I go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, they should be able to start to imitate the rhythm that I was able to clap. They also start to plan and build constructions. So if you were to put a big pile of wooden blocks on the mat, they would start to be able to build something constructive using those wooden blocks. It starts to resemble something that they had in mind and that they planned. They're able to use much fine motor control now. So they're no longer fist gripping a crayon to draw. We notice that they're starting to use a 3-finger grip at this age. And they maybe can use scissors more effectively at this age too. They love to make conversation. So in other words, I would expect a 45-year-old in my class to engage in conversations during theme discussion or news, or even come and tell me something about what happened at home that day. we definitely find that a 45-year-old repeats questions and answers questions all the time. They're always going with why. Why is that? Why did that happen? And they're able to recall stories and sequence events in a fairly sequenced manner. So in other words, these are some things that I would expect from a 45-year-old child.
And Lisa, I think that, I can only imagine, having worked with a lot of preschool owners up to now for the past 3 years, I really sense that what keeps them awake at night, and a lot of things keep them awake at night, because running a preschool has a lot of moving parts, but many people are concerned or just care deeply about whether their learners are on track for getting ready. And they want to know how to assess, review, and see what they can do to make sure every child is on track. And I guess that's really where this whole assessment process comes in.
So many teachers are worried about assessing their learners because it sounds complicated and time-consuming, but assessment is really just giving children fun activities to do while you observe and take note of their development. It's really just watching the children as they play, observing how they play, learn, speak, act, and move, and recording what they do and where they possibly need a little bit of help. And it's really as simple as that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that intro. I think that was very, very helpful. Atia, actually, I think I want to come to you next, because you've really integrated learner assessment into your center. Tell us a little bit more about what you're looking for and why you've built assessment into your center and what you've learned along the way.
So, Helene and everyone that's listening. So what happens is, in our communities or in the ECD sector, you'll find that some teachers are not aware of why they do assessment, because some of the teachers would think that it's only for the progress report. Whereas, yes, it is for the progress report, but you assess a child to see how far they are with their progress, or how their progress is from beginning of the year up until the end of the year. So I think that is one that you need to discuss first. That's one thing you need to discuss with your teachers, the importance of assessment. So it makes it so easier as well with the app, the Grow app, which you can do it from your Giraffe app and from your Meerkat app. So it makes it very easy because it is on the phone. It is always on there. The parents can access it through their own app, which is called the Lion app. So it's a great tool for us as the ECD owners. But we will talk more about the app towards the end of the meeting, right?
So, Ati, I mean, and also as the principal, you are not able to be present in every classroom. You're not able to sit down and observe every child, yet you are responsible for every child. And parents want to know how their children are doing. You want to know how your classes are doing. So I can also imagine that as you get the feedback of what's happening in every classroom, what's happening with every learner, you can see, are there developmental areas that need more attention, that need more support, and you're able to adjust, or even I see this last note, if you notice that a child is consistently not reaching their milestones, then that might become a flag for you to say, should I be concerned about this child? Is there something that we're missing?
Yes. So this, look, it's true. So this is where you don't just first assess the child. You need to observe. So your observation notes, those are very important. So observation doesn't just happen on a day where you would say, okay, I'm going to, you need to observe the children every day and keep those notes, because when it comes to assessment day, or assessment time, you need to go back to those notes, see what you saw or see what you observed about the child.
Awesome. So your teachers have their observation book where they're keeping notes throughout the year, and then you do your assessment. How often do you do your assessment?
Assessments, we do it twice a year, which is in July or June, between the June and July holidays, and the end of November for now, the December holidays.
Okay.
So we do it twice.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
Lisa, tell us about this assessment guide and what we're looking for.
Yeah, so just quickly adding to what Ati said, the ongoing observation is so important, as well as the record keeping, which the teachers should be doing. And then there's the portfolio of work. So, you know, if you keep a record of the child's drawings and cuttings and activities that they've done throughout the year, you're also able to demonstrate firstly to the parents, as well as if you are having to refer the child for additional help, you can also show that you have kept a track of the child's progress. So yeah, the continuous assessment and recording of observations is so important, as well as, you know, keeping a record of what they've been doing all year. So yes, let's move on to the assessment tool. And I can briefly explain the way that we've designed this tool. Part of it is based on a question. So a question in gross motor, for example, in this one, the question is, I can balance on one leg for more than the count to 10. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. For this particular activity, I'm going to demonstrate and I'm going to ask the child or the group of children a particular question. And this is, can you balance on one leg just like me? And I show them how to do it because, again, it's not a test. This is about showing and let's see if they can do it. If a child scores a no, the description of that says, I cannot balance on one leg without wobbling over. So I kind of get the description of a no. If it's still developing, the description that I would use to score that is I can balance on one leg for a count of about 1 or 2, but I easily lose my balance. As a teacher, you know that exact description. You can picture the child in your head that kind of gets there, but then they wobble over. If it's a yes, it says, I can balance easily on one leg for the count of 10. Now you know exactly how to score that. The reason we went for no, still developing, and yes, and the description below is to help standardize that so that the child doesn't get a completely different score for every teacher in the center. So he moves from one class to another. This teacher says, no, that is a no. The other teacher says, no, that's still developing. But we use these descriptions to help standardize. There's a different type where it isn't an activity, but it's an observation, and that's your social and emotional section. So imagine I am asking the question, I am independent and confident when I arrive each day. Now, the teacher's observation is, when the child is brought to the center, does the child part comfortably from their caregiver, or do they struggle to separate? Do they arrive showing independence? You know, can they hang up their bag? It's a little description of the type of child that I'm looking at. Now, a no for that area would be, I still need my caregiver to help me with my bag, and I cry, and I don't separate easily. I know what I'm looking for as a no score for that area. Whereas a yes is, I can find my hook, I can hang up my bag, I join the other children, and I say goodbye to my caregiver without any stress. So it's a description that helps you to score the child on this assessment.
I love that, Lisa. So what we've done is, for every one of the early learning development areas, and based on the age group, we've developed these questions, the activity or observation, and the definition of whether it's no, still developing, or yes, because these questions obviously wouldn't be for every single age group. So we've We'll show you later that there's specific questions for specific age groups. In fact, here is a little print out of the 4 to 5 year assessment checklist. And this is this is what we've built into the app that Ati was talking about. So we'll share that with you in a minute. Now, Ati, before you start assessment at your center, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about what you've learned to get your center ready, to get prepared for assessment. You know, you can't just run to a score sheet and then start assessing learners. What do we need to think about as we prepare?
Yes, like I mentioned, you need to talk about assessment to the teachers. Now, for your assessment, right? You don't just walk into a classroom and you tell the children, okay, guys, listen up, I'm going to assess you guys. You need to observe them. So yes, you need to arrange an assistant or someone that is going to look after the group of children that you are not assessing for that day. Because look, you can't be assessing one group of children while the other group has no one or is doing nothing. We call that dead time. You can't have dead time for the other children. There needs to be learning happening for them as well. And then you need to collect your equipment, make sure that you know what you are going to be assessing for that day, collect the correct equipment for that specific assessment. And then you can group your learners. Now, you can group your learners into whatever groups or into whatever names or in whichever way you would like to group them. For example, if you've got a class of 20 children, so you've got 4 groups where there are 5 children, you name those groups, which are the yellow group and the red group. Then you know, today I'll be assessing the yellow group, and this is what I'll be assessing them on: physical development. So it makes it very easy. And then you have your assessment score sheet. Now you're going to see, so this one can't hop 5 times and this one can. So you note those down. You don't tell the children, okay, no, you can't hop 5 times, but she can. Remember, you're not killing the child's confidence while you are assessing them. The assessment is for your notes. It's not for the child to know that, okay, teacher said I can't do this. Teacher said I can do this. So carefully also explain to the children, but be careful when you are explaining to them. Like I said, you are not killing their confidence. You are actually encouraging them. If they need to hop or if they need to skip, you need to tell them, okay, let's skip, and also do it with the children so that they can also gain confidence. If you expect them to balance on a balancing beam, you do it with them, show them how to do it, or you ask them questions like, can you do it like teacher? And you will see how beautifully the children will try to do it. So yeah.
Lisa, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, you know what, so often as teachers, we tell the children what to do, and they're always wanting you to play with them. This is an amazing opportunity for them to laugh while you kick a ball and balance on a beam and skip. They love it that you're doing it with them. And I mean, that's more motivation than they need. They just love it that teacher's part of the activity for today.
Yes, Lisa, I love that. This is not your matric final exam.
So no.
Let's remember that this is for children, and it is about assessing their development and their progress. It's not about, you know, if they're going to pass or fail. So, so let's keep that in mind. Excellent. Let's go on to the next section. So people are already asking in the chat, they're asking questions about what type of equipment you will need. And we'll show you the equipment in a second and how they can do this assessment. So here is, let me introduce the app just very briefly for those of you who don't know. Grow has an app that is for free for any ECD center, creche, preschool, daycare, anywhere in South Africa. If you are the ECD center owner, you would download the Giraffe app, and that's because the giraffe has the tall neck and can see everything in the jungle. And the center owner must be able to see everything in her business. And you're almost creating like a little virtual school in your phone. Whatever's happening in your school physically, you create a virtual school in the phone. So your classes, your learners, your teachers, your parents. And from there, you can access lots of resources and tools to help you with your administration, including the learner assessment tool. So once you've loaded your learners, you've set their ages. Remember, the age is important because the age determines what assessment will be given. Then you can come here to see, I want to prepare for assessment. So here you have your 2 to 3 year old, 3 or 4 year old, or 4 to 5 year old basket. And it says if for 2 to 3 year olds, you will need the following things. So there's your checklist of items. And there's also, if you need help, you can press the help button. And it shows you the assessment rubric. So Lisa, just tell us, how do these things help you with your preparation?
Yeah, so the first thing that I do is that I prepare by having assistants in the classroom, even a mom, somebody that isn't perhaps working that day who would like to read the children a story. And I know that I've got a stopgap there where there's somebody to help me. I would then pick a topic. So let's say today I'm going to do gross motor assessment. That means I'm going to take small groups of 3 or 4 children outside at a time, and I will go through all the gross motor activities, score them on the app, and then let them go back into the classroom. They go and have story time, and then I take out the next group. Perhaps on Tuesday of this week, I would then go and take from this kit list, the crayons, the paper, and I would do the fine motor activities with everybody at different times of the day. So it doesn't become this pressure point where you are taking one child through a whole lot of activities. You're just having fun with groups as you go through your day.
Yeah, that's a very clever way to do it. Mm.
Yeah, and I always make sure that we called it a basket because I'm old school. I take a basket and I go and I collect the ball, the beads, the wooden blocks, the crayons. Now I have everything that I need for this assessment week in one place. So I don't have to run around looking for things.
Exactly. Here is a nice summary of those assessment baskets that Lisa was talking about. 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 5 year olds.
And remember, you all have these items in your classrooms. You don't have to go and buy anything in particular. It's a broad number of toys and homemade things as well. So you don't have to worry about not having the equipment.
For example, this is your little basket here that you've prepared.
Yeah.
What are those papers with the squiggles on? Is that what the kids will copy?
Yeah. So if you don't have flashcards to show numbers, you make them. And if you want a child to do a pattern that they can copy your pattern, then you just make a pattern on a piece of paper. You don't have to have anything pre-made. And here are alternatives to, if we talk about a peg board, for example, it may not be that you have one in your kit or your classroom equipment, but you can take little golf tees and make a hole in polystyrene tray as your hole and your peg, because the idea is to see whether your fine motor, you'll be able to take your hand-eye coordination and peg your peg through a hole. That's the test. It doesn't matter if it's a bought box. The same with your connector toy. The connector toy is to see whether you can take your right hand, your left hand, watch, and carefully connect a toy. So it doesn't matter what you use, so long as you know why you're doing it.
Thank you, Lisa. And can I just say, we have a funny comment here in the chat, which I was laughing because my for Mary, she says, I don't think it's a good idea to invite a parent to story reading because sometimes the kids misbehave when the parents are around. And I have to say, as a parent, I agree, because my son listens very nicely when the teachers talk, but me, not so much.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So let's talk about this, the assessment. I think we've actually mentioned this now, that you formally assess twice, even 4 times a year. Some schools prefer 4 times a year. It's not wrong. Mostly, I know, Ati, you mentioned you do 2 times a year, as well as the formal kind of assessment. You're doing the continuous observation and you're creating that portfolio, the examples of work. So let's talk a little bit about this process here, Lisa.
Okay, so the way that we have sort of envisioned this assessment to be used is that we start off with an assessment. Earlier in the year, it can be at any point where you say, okay, I just want to see where they are right now. So let's see, does the child meet the milestones and which area of learning needs additional attention? So it's developing a growing understanding of the child's needs. So let's say we assess the child in May. First thing we do is we want to give the parents some feedback, because a parent who is connected to the center also cares about the future of the center and their child. But if you never talk to a parent, you never engage them, you know what? They don't show that much interest. So we start by engaging the parent and we say, hey, we've done this assessment and wow, he so loved these activities. I don't have to say that, he didn't score very well. It's about giving them feedback on what he enjoyed, what he's struggling with perhaps, and what they can do from home to help. The next step is I look at what approach works. Think about the child as an individual, not just as a class. I then create individual and group plans to address developmental needs. So imagine I look at and I see, these three little guys are really struggling with puzzles. I'm going to group them together and I'm going to start with Puzzles 101. Let's start with the very beginning with this group. And I'm going to work with them a little bit on puzzles because I can see that they really are not enjoying doing puzzles. But funnily enough, when it comes to gross motor, two of those that struggle with puzzles are the most amazing climbers. They're climbing and jumping and running. And so I wouldn't group them according to abilities, but I'd rather group them according to what does each individual child need and how can I put them together with a couple of like-minded children. So that's really important. So the next step is to look at what is effective and what can I do to plan properly. So I then put the plan that I designed into place and I discover what method of learning is most effective for the child. So some children love to be physically involved in class. Others like to work quietly on their own. Each child's different. So then once I've got my action plan in place, I then review with a second assessment a little bit later in the year. And I'm able to then see what progress has been made. And of course, I make sure that I give the parent feedback as well. So a fabulous thing to do with the feedback is to show the parents what to do, where to get additional ideas, because you want to involve the parents from the youngest age in their child's development.
That's brilliant. And I think what you'll see later is also the app can help you a little bit with this parent feedback. So the assessment that you're doing on the app becomes a download that you can print out as your progress report. Plus the parent, if they have the parent app, which is called Lion, they can just view it on their phone. And it really helps the parent feel like you are running such a professional center and you really have the best interest at heart for their child. So people in the chat are asking about, so there's someone asking about whether the GROW assessment is for free. Do you need to pay something? Must you sign an agreement? You don't have to sign any agreement. It's Nosipiwe asking. Nosipiwe, the app is for free. You don't have to sign any agreement with us. You just need to use the app and load your learners. If you need any support, we're going to show you how to do that. Vilda Boer also has a very interesting question, which actually is about assessing teachers. So this webinar is not about assessing your teacher, but yes, GROW does have assessment tools for you to assess your teachers as well. So we're not going to talk about that too much, but we can send you more info, Vilda. Lisa, here you have
Yes.
Tamron. She's from one of our centers. So just talk us through what she's doing here.
So yeah, this is Tamron. She's taking the app, and today she's going to assess her 45-year-old learners. So the first thing she does is she goes on and she chooses assess a learner, and then she goes to run assessment. She's choosing a development area rather than one child at a time. And today she's choosing fine motor, and she's choosing the 45-year-old age group because that's the group that she's working with. Now, the first thing she's going to do is she's choosing which learners she's going to put into the group. So she could assess a table of 4 or 5 learners, and they're all doing a threading activity in this particular task, and she observes carefully and gives the child some feedback. And then with a quick tap on her tool, she's able to score yes, no, or still developing. And it's really as simple as that.
Brilliant. And there she goes. So where do you go to do this? The principle, just sorry, I think I don't know if I explained that very nicely, is that there are 3 different apps. The principal app is the giraffe app. The teacher is the meerkat app, and the parent is the lion app. So the teachers only have access to the information of the learners and the classes that you as the owner have allocated to them. The parent only has access to the learner that you have allocated to them. So they each have a smaller view of your business.
Yeah, so, the meerkat, which is the teacher, she has all the learners that have been given to her in her class. So she's going into the assessment, and she's been allocated, let's say, the 45-year-olds. And in that particular class, she's got the names of all the learners, and so she can go directly in. So she would go to My Learners, assess a learner, and then run assessment. And the next step...
Oh, sorry, go for it.
You can move on to the next step. So here is a really fun feature. She can choose whether she wants to do an individual learner or assess the children by a development area. Now, imagine you've had a little guy. So here we've got a little child who's been off sick, and he missed the whole assessment window while you were busy with the assessment. Now you're sitting there going, okay, I can just tap his name in, and I can run through all of the assessment with just one learner at a time if I want to. But because I've got such a busy day, I'd rather do it by development area. So here I'm doing by development area, and I've chosen Aiden, Farah, and Tara as my 3 children. And the activity is I can thread 6 or more beads onto a string. So I sit down at the table and I give them all some beads in a bowl with a threader. And I say to them, okay, guys, we're going to do some threading. Can you see I'm threading? How many have I got? I've threaded 6 beads. Can you maybe try that? And I watch them thread. Aiden has scored yes. Farah, she's still developing because she needs additional prompting and guidance. I had to help her to hold the thread. I had to show her how to hold the bead, and I had to put the first bead on so that she could get the rest of them right. So I know that she's not confidently a yes. And then Tara, I've said, yes, she can do this. So I can then move on to the next thing.
And Lisa, I like how you were able to write your observation there under developing.
Absolutely.
So per question, you can add that in. And
then, because you've got a big class.
And then if you're like Ati and you have a big school and lots of kids
Yes.
and classes, so Ati wants to maybe see what is the progress like in my school or in my class. She can view the assessment progress.
Correct. Now, the best thing with this is that you can go through as the principal quietly at home. You can sit and go through, oh, I can see that I've got 18 learners in the school and 6 have been assessed. So I need to actually motivate my teacher because I really want these done by the end of the month. She could also then go and have a look at which class, if she wants to go and see which class, which teacher, how things are going. It's a very useful tool, this.
Brilliant. Can I ask a question? We have a question in the chat, and it's more about if we see potentially developmental delays, when do we refer, and at what point do you refer to an OT, educational psychologist? Lisa, I'd love to have your point of view on that, and Ati, then also your practical opinion.
Yeah. So an experienced or seasoned teacher will easily be able to identify the children in her class that are not reaching their milestones or that have little red flags where you say, sure, I'm not sure about this, and I'm going to ask for a second opinion. And a second opinion can often be another teacher in the school. But remember that a lot of teachers are very new, and a lot of them are very inexperienced. So it's quite important that they use this assessment with the rubric as the way that she can decide which is, if the child is still developing or no. If she's seeing a whole variety of no's and she's surprised, the next step is to really go to your senior, be that a principal, be that an additional teacher, and just say, look, I'm finding a lot of no's. I don't know if they don't understand my question or whether I'm not being clear. And you get a second opinion. And if you still feel that this is definitely something that is concerning to you, the next step is to confirm with your principal, somebody that's senior in your center that can help you to establish that, yes, indeed, this does appear to be a concern. The parent does need to be involved. You cannot just assess a child and then refer them to an OT without involving the parents in the process, because you need to explain to the parents where you are, what your concerns are, and they can give you a lot of background and say, yeah, funnily enough, he was very slow to crawl, and I have had him at my doctor, and my doctor did say that I must watch his development because at 2 years old, he was quite far behind his milestones. So then automatically you're able to know that the parent is involved in the child's development. This can be tricky because sometimes parents don't want to know and really are not welcoming of this opinion. And a second opinion from a professional may very well be needed.
And Ati, have you experienced similar situations such as this? What's your plan of action?
Look, I will agree with Lisa when she says that we need to look at those red flags, those no's, because when you are assessing a child and in all their developmental stages, there's always a no. Talk to your principal. Don't go directly to the parent, and don't ever tell the parent that, look, I think there's something wrong with your child. Please don't ever. Talk to your senior, talk to your principal, and show her your observation notes. Show her that, okay, before the assessment, when we were threading, the boy couldn't really thread, and then now we are assessing, and he is still struggling to thread. So I think you can now go on and ask the parents or communicate with the parents, tell them about these findings or the assessments, that he's kind of not progressing. There's no progress from the beginning of the year to the end. We are now in September, but there doesn't seem to be any progress from him. So but
Excellent.
my advice would be that teachers shouldn't rush to the parent to go and say, just know that your child can't do this. So
yes, exactly. So thank you very much for that little side route that we took there. I know that that's on many people's hearts. So now imagine teacher Tamron has done all of her assessments. She is so relieved. She's having a strong cup of tea as a reward. Where do these results go, and how do we share the results and also view the results?
So if you have a look at, you want to start by viewing your assessment results. So let's say you're the teacher of the bumblebees and they are the 45-year-olds, and you say, okay, I want to see how my 45-year-olds are doing. I look at the overall score. I look at, on average, the children were developing on all of the domains. So I would want to take this further. I want to go and look and see each individual and see how they did. So for example, I can then go and view by learner. And in this particular case, I'm going to look at Aiden. And I found that Aiden on social and emotional was developing. And on fine motor, he was developing. Gross motor, emergent literacy, and mathematics, he was doing really well. So I'm quite interested because I do find that he's a very boisterous boy. He loves running around and he loves to be involved with things. But when it comes to cutting and drawing and things like that, he's not mad about sitting down and doing that. So when I'm chatting to the parent, if I want buy-in from them, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say to them, there are some fun activities that they can do to encourage him to do the fine motor. But I would start with the fact that he's doing so very well in some of the other areas. And this assessment is also a way for me to be able to understand my class. Why is my whole class still developing at everything? I had hoped that by now I would score a few more yeses. So I could then go in and look and see each child and how that score contributed to my overall class score.
Yes, and I can imagine this is very important for you. So the teacher can view her class as a whole and see where the opportunities are. She can view by learner and see what's unique per learner. And you as the principal can have a view of your entire school to see what's necessary and where you're going. So people are also asking on the chat, what can you do with this report? So Ati, tell us a little bit about how you connect your parents. In that cycle that Lisa was showing us, the parents need to be involved. How do we bring this progress report and the results back to parents? How do you do that?
So in the past, I had a reports day, which is towards the end of the term. So I would then invite the parents to come and collect the children's report, and then they would open it in front of me, which is now the paper. But now, very exciting, I started last year, I either WhatsApp the progress report to the parents, or more professional, I email the report cards to the parents. And with the whole applying online for big school, it's safer when the reports are emailed, because the parent can then save the report on the phone. When it's time to apply for big school, then they can just look for the report, and then they just upload it onto the online application. And also the assessment, the parent is able to view the assessment from her app, which is the Lion app. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting. I love it. I'm no longer sending paper reports to parents now. So it's only through WhatsApp and it's through the email. So they are able to access it anytime.
You're saving money on paper.
For sure.
And on the ink. Yeah. Definitely.
So a big tip that I have here is that if you haven't started using the Grow app yet, remember that the data that you put in is always the data that you can get out. So to start off, you need to load all your learners into the app as well as your teachers, and then the teachers will be able to connect with that. And you as the principal can do the assessment, or your teachers can do the assessment. I also wanted to check something here. Lisa, this is a good question. When the teacher has completed the assessment, do they send the report to both the principal and the parent? How does it work here?
So the principal has a view of the assessment, and she can decide when those reports are going to go out. So in other words, the principal can double check the comments. She's able to decide when she wants to send them out, because, and that basically means she submits, she goes live, because the teacher's done assessment on 16 out of 25. She doesn't want those 16 to go out, and then the other parents are going, excuse me, what happened to my child's one? She would like to be able to manage the situation and send them out together. Also, if she has a big red flag, she can actually speak to a teacher and say, gosh, you scored no for everything. Can we go through this together? Can I check, how you're doing your assessment so that I know that that's right?
Yes. So as the principal, as the owner, you have complete control. No parent's getting a report unless you've said and you've given the permission on the app that report becomes available for the parent on their app, or until you've now pressed the download here to share the report. And remember, there's also the comments section where you can add your observations and your comments.
Yeah. And I think what's really important, Helene, is I think you got the next slide, which is about just a little bit further there.
Yeah.
Okay. There is online training on how to do the learner assessment. And that's available, again, free of charge and also data free. So you are able to go into the Grow Academy, and your teachers, before they do this assessment, they can actually go all the way through the exact process of how to do it. So it's very, very good preparation before they roll out the learner assessment.
That's a great idea. So if you're new to the app, or if you have not used the learner assessment section yet, don't let your teachers start assessing until they can show you their certificate of completion that they have done the Grow learner assessment training online on their phone. There's no excuses. It won't take up their data. They can access it from their Meerkat app. The assessment training will then show them how to do the assessment, all the things we've discussed today and more. And then you can feel more confident that they are ready to help you this year with the assessments in your classroom. So here you can, this is me, this is from my phone, my own screenshot. I went to assessment guides, I went into learner assessment. Just FYI, do you see the one above it? Teacher assessment guide. That's the one that someone was asking about, assessing your teachers. Anyway, so I did the learner assessment guide. Here you can see I went through the learner assessment. Why do we assess? The rubrics, the questions. I downloaded my checklists. I explained how to give feedback to parents. And there I got my certificate of completion. Lisa, I'm ready. I'd see next time you need help, hey? I can come.
Great.
Support you. So I can't believe it's almost 4 o'clock. We're running out of time. I want to just talk about the next steps. So someone is asking if they will get the recording. Yes, we will give you the recording and all of these slides. So if you are the center owner and you want to get started, download the Grow Giraffe app and create an account. If you get stuck, we have a help desk. So you can WhatsApp, call, or email our app help desk at any time during the day. Terrell will put the contact details for the help desk in the chat right now. Make sure you save that. As the owner, you register your teachers on your Giraffe app with an email address. So make sure each teacher has their own email address, because the teachers then go and download the Meerkat app. And to log in, they need to use the same email address. We don't want fake teachers getting access to your school's details. So it's only the email address that you have put into your Giraffe app. That is the email address that will be allowed to access the teachers app, and then only the learners and classes that you have allocated to those teachers. Complete the online training, prepare for assessment, and then have amazing fun as you complete your learner assessment and you share the results with your parents. Here is the help desk number. WhatsApp or call or email the help desk if you get stuck with the app at any point during office hours. Currently, the app is available on Android phones only. We're working on our iOS and our laptop version, which we hope will be available very soon. But right now, you need an Android phone to have these apps. All right. Let's see if anybody had another final question. Okay. Oh, this is an interesting one. Can you put the school's branding on the assessment report? I don't know if we currently have that, but Grow's branding is not on there either.
Yeah. No. So if you were to go into the resources library, there is an editable version of the learner assessment where you can go and put your center's logo on it. So it is in paper. So the version that goes to the parents is neutral. That goes straight off the app. But if you wanted to hand out paper versions of this exact app, you can put your logo on it because it's in the resources library in the hub. Yeah,
exactly. So again, on the app, there's a section under My Tools called Resources. That's where you can download resources like templates for an employment contract, a POPI compliant enrollment form, learner assessment reports, over 300 free downloadable resources.
Policies, procedures, everything that your center needs is available free of charge in that resources hub. You just need to go and look for it under resources.
Awesome. Lisa, any final thoughts? And then over to you, Ati, for your final thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just so excited that so many people have joined this meeting today. And I really believe this is a unique tool that was designed for the South African market. We didn't go overseas and look for something to download and to use and edit. This is homegrown. So guys, get out there, use the app. It's yours to use and really, enjoy it. And hopefully the children are going to benefit long term. Thanks so much.
And Ati, any final words of wisdom from you?
So, before I can just share any words of wisdom. So now the principal will notice that when they are enrolling the children on the app will automatically put the children in their different age groups. But then now that's only if you put the correct date of birth of the child. So if you miss that, then the app won't be able to put the child automatically in their age group. So when you are doing assessment, the child will then fall in the correct age group of that assessment. So you will never assess a 3-year-old for the 4 to 5-year-old's assessment. So principals must just ensure that when they are enrolling the children on the app, they make sure that their dates of birth are correct, especially the year. And then, and then also, so if maybe the principals or at the centers, they are using any other curriculum other than the GROW curriculum, they are still able to use the assessment. It's not that it is only made for the GROW curriculum, but I should tell you that the GROW curriculum is the best, because whatever is given, whatever assessment tools or whatever assessment things that you need to use, you have them. It's easier to use to do the assessment.
Excellent. Those are very wise words. Thank you very much. We have a lot of people on the chat saying they're ready, they're excited, they're ready to have the best learner assessment year ever. If you feel worried about technology, you're feeling stressed maybe about trying it out, don't feel stressed, don't feel worried. Our help desk can talk to you directly. We have online app support sessions where we can show you how to use the app. And if you're close to our office, you can come to our office. We also host app training sessions at our office. So reach out. Don't feel any stress. Let's reduce the stress and let's make sure we are assessing our learners and having a great 2023. Thank you, everyone. We'll send you all the recordings and the slides by tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.